TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel is poised to achieve its war objectives irrespective of mounting international pressure. While the war in Gaza rages on, hostilities along Israel's northern front are seemingly intensifying. U.S. forces in Syria have yet again come under attack by Iranian proxies, yet Washington's failure to respond to Tehran's repeated aggressions persists. Israel will persist until all of its war objectives are attained, irrespective of international pressure. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the citizens of Israel, asserting that the IDF will move forward with determination until Hamas is effectively eradicated.
A month ago, on the Black Saturday of October 7th, a brutal war was forced upon us by a brutal enemy, second to none. An enemy that sought to massacre us. This enemy will be struck severely. It will be destroyed. We will eliminate Hamas's military and governing capabilities. Gaza will no longer constitute a threat to Israel. Once again, I call on the civilian population in Gaza, evaluate southward. You are already doing so. Complete it. We will not stop. I repeat, there will be no entry of fuel into Gaza or workers into Israel, and there will be no ceasefire without the release of our hostages.
With regard to Gaza City, which Hamas previously declared as its impregnable fortress, IDF troops have effectively encircled the city, and operational activity is continuously taking place throughout the terror-plagued territory.
In the south, the war in the Gaza Strip is proceeding with a fervor that Hamas has never known. Gaza City is encircled. We are operating in it. We are intensifying the pressure on Hamas on an hourly basis every day. As of now, we have eliminated thousands of terrorists above ground and below ground. Among them, we have eliminated arch-murderers who planned and perpetrated the terrible massacre on that Black Saturday 1 month ago. Since the start of the ground incursion, we have destroyed countless Hamas command centers, tunnels, bases, and installations. Hamas is discovering that we can go to places they did not think we could, and the campaign is continuing.
It is important to know that the IDF Southern Command Commander, Major General Yaron Finkelman, after visiting forces operating in the terror-infested stronghold of Hamas, provided a brief recount of the operational activities taking place.
During these hours, too, we are fighting at the most significant center of the Gaza Strip. This is where I just returned from now. For the first time in decades, the Israeli Defense Forces are fighting in the heart of Gaza City, at the heart of terrorism. This is a complex and difficult war, and to my sorrow, it also comes at a price.
It has been cleared for publication that 2 additional IDF troops fell in Gaza, joining a long list of 350 IDF troops who fell since the abhorrent terror groups from the Hamas-controlled Gaza Strip launched their onslaught on southern Israel on October 7th. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the seemingly escalating hostilities emanating from Israel's northern neighbor, namely Lebanon, where Hezbollah is increasingly launching attacks against IDF positions and civilian communities.
In the north, we are operating defensively and offensively. We will continue to defend our border. We will not accept a reality in which Hezbollah or those who do its bidding, Hamas in Lebanon, attack our communities and our citizens. We will continue to respond with heavy fire to any attack against us. We have attacked many Hezbollah targets and have eliminated many terrorists. I reiterate, if Hezbollah decides to enter the war, it will be making the mistake of its life.
The Israeli premier went on to address the diplomatic front amid rising international pressure, even though global support for Israel's just war objectives vis-à-vis the terror-plagued territory remain intact, with world leaders continuing to stream into the Jewish state.
אנחנו פועלים סביב השעון כדי לספק לצה"ל
On the
מרחב
diplomatic
תמרון
front, we are
בינלאומי
working around the
לטובת המשך
clock to
הפעילות
provide the
הצבאית.
IDF with international
אנחנו מביאים הנה
maneuvering room
מנהיגים
for continued military
ממדינות
activity.
ברחבי העולם.
We are bringing
אני
here
נפגש
leaders
איתם.
from countries around the
אני מראה
world.
להם את הזוועות של
I meet
החמאס.
with them and show them the
אני מראה
horrors
להם
of
את הגבורה
Hamas.
של אזרחינו ושל
I show
חיילינו.
them the heroism of our citizens
להם,
and our soldiers.
המלחמה
I tell
שלנו
them, our war
היא
is your
המלחמה
war, because
שלכם.
if we do not win,
כי
you are
אם
next
אנחנו
in
לא
line.
ננצח,
And I always
הבאים
add,
בתור.
we will win.
ואני תמיד
We will
מוסיף,
not stop until victory
אנחנו
is achieved.
ננצח. אנחנו לא נעצור עד לניצחון.
It is important to highlight that Jerusalem's war cabinet is in tune with the rising international pressure to implement a humanitarian pause. Nevertheless, no pause will be realized until hostages, at least 241, including infants, children, women, and elderly, are released.
לא תהיה הפוגה הומניטרית בלי החזרת חטופים.
There won't be a humanitarian pause before the return of hostages. Pressure on us will mount. I know that we will be required to make difficult leadership decisions. For me, this mission cannot be stopped until its achievements are reached. This war which we were forced into, we won't go back, nor stop. There is only going forward until Hamas is defeated and the hostages are returned.
Jerusalem's top defense official went on to highlight that the IDF is doing everything in its power to facilitate a secure corridor to allow the remaining non-combatant population of the northern Gaza Strip to relocate to a humanitarian zone in the southern part of the Palestinian enclave.
מאות אלפים מהם עזבו.
Hundreds of thousands have left, but there are still some left, and I think they would do well to move south in order to preserve their lives. On the other hand, nothing will stop us from implementing our missions to eliminate Hamas.
It is important to know that alongside exchanges of fire between Hezbollah operatives and IDF troops along Israel's northern border with Lebanon, which also drew retaliatory strikes against Hezbollah infrastructure and positions throughout the sector, a number of projectiles were launched from Syrian territory towards Israel, the majority of which were intercepted by the IDF's aerial defense array, while a few exploded in uninhabited areas. No injuries were reported in all these cases. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Syria, Iranian proxy militias have once again launched rockets and so-called suicide drones toward a U.S. base, raising the number of confirmed attacks by Iranian proxies against the U.S. military to 40.
Between October 17th and November 7th, or today, U.S. forces have been attacked at least 40 times to date, with 22 separate times in Iraq and 18 separate times in Syria. And that's a mix of one-way attack drones and rockets.
It is important to note, as mentioned by the Pentagon's deputy press secretary, that not all launches directed at U.S. troops are recorded as attacks.
You know, it's more of an art than a science. It's the threat to U.S. forces and how close a drone or a rocket gets to the base. So we assess each one each time on what constitutes an attack. There are different ways on how different agencies also characterize the attack. So we're trying to do the best we can and provide you the most transparent information that we can as quickly as possible. But it's more of the threat in the vicinity of that would characterize the attack.
While the seeming obfuscation is not convincing since there is no so-called art at the tactical level, Sabrina Singh insisted that there is no hesitancy in responding to the dozens of attacks by Iranian proxies, repeating time and again that the number of casualties from these attacks have been relatively small.
We know that Iran equips, supports, funds these IRGC-backed groups in Iraq and Syria. And so while I won't speak to anything specific in recent weeks, we don't suspect that that relationship has terminated in any way. We are very candid about we're seeing an uptick in attacks, but so far we have not seen any significant casualties. We've not seen significant damage to our infrastructure. Our posture in the region has certainly been bolstered by the assets that you've seen us move into the CENTCOM AOR, with the Ike transiting there now, with the Ford in the Eastern Med. I would say that while we are seeing an uptick in attacks, our purpose is to ensure that this conflict doesn't widen out beyond Israel. So I would say that deterrence right now it's incredibly strong on our side. We are sending an incredible message to any state or non-state actor that would want to seek to get involved in the conflict, that they do not do that. I wouldn't say there's hesitancy. We decide to respond at a time and place of our choosing. We don't necessarily have to be tit for tat every single time. We are incredibly strategic about when we decide to take kinetic action. And you saw that on October 26th when we did hit key infrastructure nodes that these IRGC-backed groups use.
Meanwhile, at the White House, the National Security Council spokesman, retired Rear Admiral John Kirby, reaffirmed the U.S. unequivocal support for Israel, irrespective of any disagreements.
Look, we're friends, and friends don't have to agree on every single nuance and every single word. The Prime Minister speaks for a sovereign nation and for a sovereign people, and he should obviously, be queried about the points that he's making, but it doesn't mean that we're somehow backing away from our friend and our ally Israel, the strongest ally we have in the Middle East, or we're backing off our support for what they're trying to do to protect their people.
Admiral Kirby went on to highlight that Washington does not believe that a ceasefire would be appropriate at this moment in time.
We still believe that a general ceasefire is not appropriate at this time. And by general ceasefire, we're talking about everybody laying down their arms for an indefinite period of time in the anticipation of peace talks and some sort of negotiated settlement. And we just don't believe that it's the right time for that right now. We do think it is the time to continue to pursue pauses in the fighting of a temporary nature for specific purposes.
Admiral Kirby, who is regarded in high esteem here in Israel, further acknowledged that Washington and Jerusalem are holding ongoing discussions on post-war Gaza, which he stressed could not return to the way it was before Hamas and its terror affiliates perpetrated the October 7th massacre.
We're having active discussions with our Israeli counterparts about what post-conflict Gaza ought to look like. The president maintains his position that a reoccupation by Israeli forces is not the right thing to do. We'll let them speak to their intentions, but we are definitely having conversations about what the post-conflict environment ought to look like and what governance in Gaza ought to look like. One thing there's absolutely no daylight on is Hamas can't be part of that equation. You can't go back to October 6th.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, I would like to once again thank all of you who've stood by TV7 Israel by supporting us with both donations and prayer. Since TV7 Israel is 100% donation-based, without your support, we won't be able to produce any of our daily updates. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our upcoming TV7 Israel updates. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.